Why are you still living with imposter syndrome when it actually only takes a few weeks to turn off? That's what we're going to chat about in this very, very quick, short little training, but just to really make you think about it is possible to do it, and only in a very short period of time. So why is it important to turn it off? Well, it's because imposter syndrome is the single biggest reason why careers and businesses don't hit the results they could. It's not because people are incapable. It's usually because they doubt themselves too much. They have fear of taking action, of the consequences of taking action. And I work with people, and this is the really interesting thing. I work with people who others would call incredibly successful, running businesses, multimillionaires, literally work with multimillionaires. I have worked with people at every level and scale, starting right out with nothing, who never let themselves do anything or achieve anything, to people who on the surface have achieved so much, and they have, but they know they're capable of more, or they've selectively been successful. They've been good in one area, but not in another area. So imposter syndrome is the thing that actually controls results more than any other single thing. In 20 years of working with people, it's our self-doubt, our excessive fear that stops a lot of really capable, talented people from achieving what they could. So that's why I focus on it, because it's actually quite easy to fix. And this is the thing. Most people with imposter syndrome have had it for years, if not decades. Okay? Years, if not decades. And this is the interesting thing. 90% of people create this thinking, usually without realizing it, because actually it's an accident of how your brain thinks. It's easy to create. A lot of people, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people have this. We just don't want to actually say it. And people don't tend to notice they do, but I do, because it's my job. I see this all the time. But 90% of people create this without realizing it years before they ever get their first job. So and I work with entrepreneurs and business leaders and people who want, got that ambition to be successful. This starts way before they even think about their first job or their first business. So this means that the thinking as a child is getting in the way of your career or business. That's the problem. It's something you created, often accidentally, many times without realizing it, that is controlling your results now in your career or your business. Now, if that doesn't really make sense, then good, because that's actually one of the important things to realize. If it's something from your past that's inappropriate, you can turn it off because it's no longer relevant. I want you to think about this. How much does this cost you? Not just in money, but in terms of enjoyment of your life. If you're running a business, or you're senior in business, or you should be coming up the ladder, you enjoying what you're doing, enjoying your life, rather than spending your life doubting and fearing. So many people I work with, they work incredibly long hours. They're perfectionists because they're so desperate for things not to go wrong and to be found out. So what does this cost you in terms of revenue and income, but also stress, pure stress, living with your life not in the way that is good for you. And it never happens when I'm working with a client where we just talk about business. Well, I'm saying never. 95% of the time we talk about how this knocks on into family life or into health or hobbies, and being able to take time away from the business or your job and not be looking at the phone or wondering when something's going to go wrong. So what stress have you lived with because of something you created accidentally as a child? So the shame is that most people live with imposter syndrome for years when it only takes a few weeks to turn off. 4 on average. I give people four weeks. We work with each other for 4 weeks, just 4 weeks, even if it's been decades. So it's not about crazy therapy and years of being in therapy. It's actually about the process and the mechanism. And there is a process and there's a mechanism that accidentally creates it. So the good thing about that is, if strangely millions and millions and millions of people do it, there is a process, an accidental process where it gets created, and therefore you can change the process. You can turn it off. So is it time to turn it off? Are you frustrated enough yet? And the interesting thing is this positive motivation and trying to motivate yourself and push through. Actually, that's one of the worst things you can do, because if you're trying to say, I'm going to do this and have these goals, and your brain says, no, you're not capable, it's too dangerous, too scary, what happens if? Actually, the more positive you are, more affirmations, if you've done all that sort of stuff, or setting goals, actually this wakes up this thinking and creates even bigger conflict. So if you're fed up with a child running your life, child thinking running your life, then is it time to turn it off? And most importantly, what could you achieve if you did do that? Where should your business or career be if you could act with confidence and not doubt? So in fixing the imposter syndrome is not the most important thing. It's the first thing. Getting rid of that excessive fear and excessive doubt is not the most important thing. That's not the goal. That's the process you need to do, so then you can focus on what you want to do next. And we help with that, because for many people, they've held it such a long time, sometimes they don't even know what they want, or they're not sure on what they want, or they've created a business which is, or the way of running a business which is so distorted by this child's thinking of fear and worry and concern, is that they don't know what else and other ways they could do it. But that doesn't take long either, because once you turn off this imposter syndrome, your brain will automatically focus on where you want to go and what do you want to do next. So we don't just do the imposter syndrome, we actually help with the next steps too. So the first thing you have to do is, as one of my clients said to me recently, is you're the first person I've ever said, I don't believe in myself very much. And this person was a very senior person in a very, very big organization. Very senior, very big. On the outside, it looks like they've got it all sussed. But inside, they go to work every day and they feel scared that something's going to go wrong. And they have that, I don't know if you had that, the Sunday night before you have to go back to school feeling of, oh, and they said they haven't lost that since they were a kid. Guess what? It happened for something at school. So sometimes we don't want to admit to anybody, but we work with people with complete confidentiality. It's nobody wants, the hardest thing with my clients is they don't want to tell anybody that they're working with us. They may whisper it to them friends, but the last thing they want them to know in the business is that's what they're doing. So we keep it very confidential, don't worry. So you have to admit it to yourself. You don't want to admit it to anybody else. That's fine. We work under the radar with people all of the time for this, because who wants to admit that they're scared or they're not very good at their job? Well, actually, usually they are. They just don't believe in themselves. So this is a normal thing. So have no fears about confidentiality. So if you're ready to take that first step to get onto the real prize, just let us know. Here's the ways of getting in touch with us. Send us an email or book in a call or message us or click on any of the links around here. And I promise you, 4 weeks to get rid of years and years and years of getting your own way is not as difficult as people think it is. It's actually predictable. Look forward to speaking to you and working with you and getting this out of the way. And we get on to the more important thing, is what you're able to achieve once you got rid of all this sabotage thinking and this imposter syndrome. I look forward to speaking to you.